Hi, Sloan B here, and today I want to talk about the Kanika Jenkins story that's been out. I looked at a couple of videos. I looked at Prince and Sincere Thought Crimes. I looked at the guy who was taking out the noise of the video. I looked at some of the news things, and this is a very tragic situation. And looking at the live, I looked at the live, and I felt like her friend or whoever the girl was just, out of it. The fact that the police are saying that she was inebriated and drugs were involved, I think that the police at that point ignores everything else when there's substance like alcohol and drugs involved. I feel like they don't really pay attention to anything else when drugs or and alcohol are involved. Actually, especially like in accidents and things like that. They just don't pay attention to that stuff. And also, Kanika's mother, she felt that the police are not really doing their job. But the problem I have is Kanika's friends' stories keep changing. They're not really telling the truth. The live was disturbing when you see the girl turn the music up and you hear, the moaning and groaning. And the fact that if they do go to court and they bring the live video in there, it's still not enough evidence to say that who's to say that she wasn't having consensual sex or whatever, because it sounds like they're having sex in the video. Then they get the footage of the freezer and they see her walking in the freezer, which is all questionable because we can't say what happened. We can only make public prediction, or media prediction, because that's what we're doing. We're making like a media prediction. We don't have the facts, and the police are not going to do too much investigation because whoever the friends are, they've already made statements to the police. And the police in Chicago are kind of like desensitized to the environment because it's crime everywhere. They're used to kids being killed because they're kids raising kids. They're used to drugs and all these things being in the environment. The police are kind of desensitized, and if there is something else going on, it's not like they're going to really dig deep into it because they're used to the environment being like this. They're used to the black kids dying early. They're used to violence. They're used to gang violence. They're used to women getting raped. They're used to all of these things, and they're used to the fact that people that are in gang violence, getting raped, doing this and that and third, they are using drugs. They are inebriated half of the time. So it's sad to see the mother go through this, but I feel like as a black woman and other black women, we are working so much and getting so much education that we don't have time to be at one place. Be at many places at one time. We are not God. We can't be in all these places at one time. And our children are basically getting neglected. We're leaving our children to the street. And we are taking out their words for the truth. And with this culture and this mentality of not snitching, if any foul play went wrong in that hotel room or anything, they're not going to say anything. Even if they watched someone do crime in front of them, they're not going to say anything. Because if you go back to my video on Young Dro agreed to being a snitch, there's a no snitching allowed. because that's the mentality, that's the street code. So if anything has went on with Kanika Jenkins and her friends, they're not going to tell because no snitching is allowed. So this girl life has been claimed by basically a crime-ridden community, and no one's saying anything. I mean, they're on Facebook Live, and if a crime is taking place in the background, turning up the music and ignoring it because they all are desensitized to the crime-ridden community. And the street code is no snitching. So the police are taking a stance to, well, this is an accident or this is normal. People get drunk and do all kinds of things. So this is the take that they are taking. And you're not going to get the police to think anything different unless these girls come out and tell the truth. But there's so many stories that have been told, and the friends keep changing their stories. What is the police going to do when you have liars already lying? When you have a street code already preceding this incident, the street code is no snitching allowed. You ain't allowed to tell the truth. If there is something going on, you ain't allowed to tell. And then Kanika told her mother she was going to the movies. And she ended up in a hotel dying. So now as Black women have to do is now they got to actually really start following their daughters and their sons and actually popping up on them and see what they're doing. Get account numbers to their Facebook Lives and their YouTube Lives and following them. And actually being a detective with your kids, because now when they're under this code of the street, no snitching, that's automatic now. When your child comes out in the street and they're friends, no snitching. Like my two children, they were arguing with each other one day. And my son told my daughter, "You always snitching." And I told my son, "She's supposed to snitch on you if you're doing something wrong. I make sure that code is not allowed. If your sister is doing something wrong or your brother is doing something, you better come tell me. Because I can't see everything." And then we as Black women got to stop working so much and get to our kids, because our kids take advantage of us not being there or not paying attention to them, and they lie to us. And they tell us one thing, and then you come to a freak accident and your child is dead, and then you got to deal with the consequences of the fact that your child lied to you. She said she was going bowling. Then somebody ended up with her keys in her car, and she ended up in a freezer dead at a hotel room where drugs and alcohol is taken and ingested. And the police say, "Hey, there's drugs and alcohol here." She walked into the freezer. She was drunk, and they closed the case. And I saw where the mother was fussing about that the police did not allow her to come to the scene of the crime. You are not allowed to come to the scene of the crime because the scene of the crime could be tainted. And I mean, the crime is already tainted because you have people already lying. You got a pre-perceived code of no snitching. So if a crime is taking place, they're not going to tell it anyway. So do you think Janika is her murder or whatever happened is going to get solved? I don't think so, because of the pre-perceived code of no snitching. No snitching allowed, no telling the truth. So if I see a crime in front of my eyes, I can't say anything. Being a young adult today, and you're under the street culture and the street code, and the rappers carrying the street code, and they were saying something about Chance the Rapper. had something to say. Chance the Rapper need to be talking to other rappers and telling them about the snitch code needs to be getting rid of. Because if somebody else is killed because of something and they use this code, no more truth is going to be told. Truth is not going to be told. People are going to keep telling lies. People stories are going to keep changing. You know what I'm saying? So this we got to stop this. And Chicago needs to work on the street culture and the street codes. Get rid of those things. Because murders are happening every day and people know that these are going on, but they are zipping their lips and they're not snitching. Why? Because snitching is not allowed. Telling the truth is not allowed. Because there's repercussions. And in Chicago, I'm pretty sure that these people do not want to lose their lives either. So what can come out of this? I mean, you have the community corrupted, the police are corrupted, the government is corrupted. Trump already talking about sending, armed forces in there and things of that nature. And then you have they say illegal immigrants and stuff like that. It's like, what can you do to solve this? How can it be solved? The best way I know how to solve it is to make sure your children do not hold the truth from you or anyone else if they see a crime. Get rid of the street code, because the street code is setting this environment up for crime, and it's setting these children up for not telling the truth if crime does happen, or one of their children's life or one of their friends' life get taken in front of them. They have to zip their lips and take it and don't say anything. Get rid of the street code of no snitching allowed. Because these girls, all of her friends, Kenneka friends, are not going to say anything. And every time they get interviewed or somebody talks about it, it's going to be a different story because of the street code. So, my thoughts on this is, it's tragic, but we're going to have to do better as mothers. We're going to have to start checking with our kids. We're going to have to start getting on their Facebook lives, their YouTube lives. We're going to have to start talking to the teachers and seeing if the teachers see something that we don't see. Because our children are being ripped from us under this street code culture and no snitching. And you get left in the dark as a parent because your child is now going to be prone to lie to you. So put down in the description what you think of Kenneka's case and her situation. Is tragic. My heart goes out to her family. And Chicago is dealing with hell right now. And what I would say to Chance the Rapper, you need to have a meeting with all other rappers, and y'all need to talk about the snitch code and all of these street codes about no snitching. Y'all need to get rid of that, because it's setting up an environment for liars and not telling the truth. And save a life. Save many lives with that. And as Black women, my job gonna be, when my kids walk in my house, I'm gonna be questioning them. And then if a teacher sees something at school and she come to me, my ears are gonna be open, because these children have a different life when they walk outside our doors. They got another code that's reaching out to these kids, and the street culture is seeping everywhere. So even if you're in a good neighborhood, it's still seeping everywhere, and everyone is in the music. No snitching, no telling the truth. So you got to make sure that these children know what the truth is and don't hold it and don't hide it. Because if they do, you're going to find out later on what the truth is. So long, B. Have a nice day.